Feeling excited about real estate investing, but also a little overwhelmed with the process? You're not alone. There is so much information out there that you're not sure where to go or what to do.
Well, if that's you, we got your back. In today's episode, we're going to break down the top 5 challenges beginners face, and most importantly, what you really need to focus on. Those are the 5 things that you gotta focus on. Forget about the rest so you can build a very successful foundation.
Welcome to the InvestHER Podcast. I'm Liz Fairclough.
And I am your co-host, Andressa Gadelli. So let's get started, Liz. What's the first one?
Okay, so we're going to jump right in. Here's the first challenge. And we start with the most important one is the fear of making a large financial commitment. And it's a big one. I don't want to dismiss it. I've been investing for 20 years. Andressa's been investing just as long as I have. And it's a real fear. And it doesn't leave you because you add zeros, you make bigger decisions, you make bigger investments. But what I can say about it is that it's real and we need to move through it. So it's not so much like avoiding it, right? So that's number one. I also want to say that when you have this fear, if you're just looking at what's in front of you, Andressa, you can't get beyond it. So what we recommend is that you actually get really clear on your goals, your short-term goals, your long-term goals, because that's what's going to move you through the fear. Meaning, I'm about to, make an investment decision and take $40,000 and make it. That's a big deal. Okay. Where do I want to be in 5 years? That propels you and moves, it kind of pulls you forward to make that decision, not so much away from the fear, but from the perspective of moving beyond the fear, because you have a bigger why, you have a bigger vision that you're being pulled towards. You must have that to move through that right now fear.
So here's my interpretation about fear. I see fear. It's important to have it. If you are like completely fearless, investing in real estate for the first time and ignoring the signs, I don't know if you're going to make some rational decisions and mitigate your risk. So fear, everybody has it. I remember having my first conversation with Matt when we were putting over $1 million offer. And I was fearful. And he's like, what's happening? I was like, hey, this is over $1 million, right? We're putting that. And he's like, it's just another number. It's the same thing. So you just build the skills. But in summary, the fear cannot stop you achieving your goals. So the formula to overcome fear is very simple, not easy, but simple. You need to make your 5-year goals so big, so exciting that it's bigger than the fear that you currently have. That is bigger than and more exciting than staying at where you are. If the pain of staying where you are, it's not big, you will just be comfortable and stay stuck in there. So fear is actually a positive thing until it holds you back. If it is holding you back from moving forward, that's when you need to tweak.
Totally. And the key here is you're getting clear on your goals. There's a lot on goal setting. I want to give you just very simple questions to ask yourself. What do you want to have? Meaning, do you want financial freedom? What does that look like to you? Financial freedom is such a broad topic. So when you say, what do I want to have in 5 years? Get clear. What does that look like to you? Do you want a portfolio that's yielding cash flow? Do you want to be your own boss? Just get specific. What comes up for you when you say, what do I want to have? And the other question I want you to ask yourself is, what do you want to actually do? So there's a have part, but then there's a doing part. What do you want to be doing, in 5 years? What does your daily life look like? Paint the picture, because all of this should be moving you towards that. And if it isn't, it's kind of like it's a mess. So, what does that look like for you? What brings you joy? What brings you energy? Those are some of the things to look at. And then the last piece of goal setting, Andressa, that most people forget, most people never do. They set these goals. I want to make X, Y, Z, passive income, this and that. I want to, get 5 properties. They never ask the question of who they need to be. And you do need to ask the question of who you need to be. And you're like, hold on, what are you talking about? Who I need to be? I need to be myself. My name's Liz Fairclough. Well, what way of being do you need to have? Do you need to feel confident? Do you need to be into possibility? Do you need to have a lot of faith? I mean, this business, any business takes a way of being, and it takes a daily way of being. It's not like one and done. So that's something to note.
I think people get that mixed up, right? The be do have. Majority of people think once I have X, then I will be this way, shape, or form in my life. And the key is to reverse that. Who do you need to be? And what do you need to do in order for you to have it? So it's completely reverse. I'll share something funny that happened yesterday. I was walking Lorenzo to the bus stop, and on the way to the bus stop, he looked at me and said, "Why do you need to dress like this?" I was like, "Oh, excuse me."
Well, how are you dressed? First off, we need to know how you were dressed.
Well, here's the thing. I work from home and I started dressing up regardless, right? I mean, I am in Zoom calls, I am in, right? But not necessarily I was going somewhere else. I was wearing a very nice dress, very nice shoes. And at first I was like, hold on a second. Is this a criticism? Do you think like, what is it? He's like, it's very classy. I just don't understand why you're dressing up like that to the bus stop.
You're trying to make it past at the bus driver.
Yeah, right. It's just a woman, by the way. But that's okay. But the point is, I was like, yeah, let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? My future self really enjoys
getting dressed up.
Yeah. And I will dress up now because that's who I am or will be. My future self lives in the now. Now we are going to quantum physics right now. But that's the point, right? You got to be who you want now. Right? So start behaving it now.
Love it. I love it. So number 2 is navigating the acquisition process. Now, quite honestly, when you're moving into something new, I don't think real estate investing is complex, but there is a lot of steps. So it can get a little overwhelming. What comes first? What comes second? Out of everything we've learned on Jess and I in building the investor community over the last 6 years is that women especially like a step-by-step guide, hands down, right? What do I need to do? And then I'll execute. And while there's probably different models out there, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle of acquiring property. So first and foremost, the lack of knowing what the process is not a reason to not move forward. However, you need to get the basics. You need to learn the basics of the process and the common language. It's just like, I'm going to Paris. I went to Paris with my mother-in-law. I didn't learn that much, but I learned some basic French. You need to learn some basic real estate investing terms, and that propels you forward. I'd say a shortcut to doing that is finding a real estate agent who is investor friendly. What we mean by that is they own investment property, ideally in the area that you're looking in. Very simple. So you start to learn the basic terms. You're starting to learn the basic vernacular, if you will, by being involved just in our community, listening to the 500 plus episodes we've done. And then you're asking them questions. Now you know enough what questions to ask.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made in the past was to lead everything. And I transitioned I am a natural leader, right? So leading is like, okay, that's how we do it in life. The transition for me was more towards if I'm working with a lender and the lender, it's not leading, meaning telling me exactly the schedule, what is missing, what it's not, what is the next step. I'm working with the wrong lender. If I'm working with a realtor and I am the one sending listings to the realtor and not the other way around, that's wrong. And many of you are like, oh, that's me. Well, that's the wrong person. I want somebody to lead. I want an expert that is going to get paid. It's getting paid for the work. And why am I doing their work? Why am I reminding them of deadlines? Why am I really saying, how about this house here that just showed up on the market? Why am I bidding those people? If I am bidding those people in time and the next steps, I'm working with the wrong people. That's on my books.
And when you're learning something new, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. But if they're leading, not just with blank confidence, but with a confidence like, hey, I've done it this way. I've seen it done that way. Here's what's coming up. That's a good sign. And that's how you'd almost want to be hearing a real estate agent or a lender be talking about those things.
You want to know, Liz, I just want to piggyback on a second. You want people that are going to disagree with you. You don't want people that are going to just take your notes, especially as a beginner. You don't know what you don't know. So you want to hear the followings. Yes. However, I've done this way. And what I have found is this is what the process looks like. This will be a better strategy. You want people that have the capacity, the knowledge and the confidence to stand up and say what they are really thinking and guiding you through the process.
So important. And just as a note, we're going to be putting more resources in the show notes, books to read, resources to have so we can really set you up for the most success. So let's get to number 3. 3 is all about, this challenge that so many new investors are like, which investment strategy should I jump into?
All of them. I'm going to just consume all the books that it's out there. So I feel good about it.
And I think back, right? Because I've been at this for 20 years, Andressa. I know I'm old and 95 years old. I like to talk about that. Well, back in my day, we didn't have any of the resources that you have today, but that's another topic for another mini-sode. But when I did start and when we got going, there wasn't as many strategies, I will say. I don't recall short-term rentals or mid-term rentals.
It didn't exist. Airbnb didn't exist.
That's how old I am. Airbnb didn't exist. But still, like you're still looking at all these different ways to approach this business. And it can feel very overwhelming. And it almost like I hear people talk about, should I buy a short-term rental right now? Is this a good time or not? And I think that's just an important question. It's not always the first question. We didn't start with that question. We talked about your goals. Then we talked about really not understanding the acquisition and just understanding the process. The investment strategy, I want to break it down to 2 things. There's asset class and then there's strategy. And often people just put them all in the same bucket. Should I do a buy and hold or short-term rental? Hold on. Should I get into residential or commercial? Hold on. We're talking about there's apples and oranges. Hold on. Let's get the apples on one side and the oranges in another. And why I'm saying this is when you're new, it's really important to delineate as much as you can because it helps you with your focus and it helps understand and move forward. So asset class is really simple it's not actually simple. There's tons of them. But if you just go to residential or commercial and then there's more along that, right? Residential.
Yeah, start there. And start eliminating it. That the goal is to start eliminating as you go. Residential or commercial. All right. If you just were residential, eliminate all commercial possibilities. I think it started eliminating versus let me analyze all of them.
Absolutely. And it might be something that you're coming from the hotel industry. So hotels is something that you quite honestly, know a lot about. Well, that makes sense to navigate to hotels versus someone's like, I go to hotels. That's okay. That's not enough, right?
Yeah. Not enough.
Yeah, not enough. So that's number 1 is asset class. The second thing is strategy, meaning, okay, I chose a single family home. That's maybe a good place to start for my investing. It's a very common place, quite honestly. It's probably a good start for many investors that they can, get their heads around, depending on their goals. Fix and flip. I can fix and flip a single family home. I can buy a single family home and rent it out by the room. I can buy it and just put a long-term tenant in it. So that's what we call strategy. Same asset class, different strategy to use to basically make your investing decisions. Now, what you're also looking at with strategy very quickly is some will yield a big amount of money like a fix and flip. Some will yield passive income. All goes back to number 1. Don't skip number 1. Because if you're not clear on where you want to go and what type of money you want to make, fix and flip and a buy and hold are then equal to you because you're not clear on where you want to go. So that's the key is asset class and strategy to be very simple and not get too deep here. Okay. Number 4, once you've done those 3, number 4 is identifying the right market. I love this one, Andres. I love talking about the market. And you might say, why do you love talking about the market, Liz? It's not so much that I love the analytical side of every single market, because that's, I love markets.
But you just don't have anything else to do and keep going.
I'm nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But I think most beginners, here is the number 1 mistake that I've seen most beginners, and it's something that I did. I don't know if you did it, Andressa. I probably made more mistakes.
No,
I made more mistakes than Andressa, hands down. That's definitely the case. But I think so many beginners value the deal over the market.
Yeah. So many people evaluating the deal, going to open houses without knowing the market. I see that. Yeah.
That's huge. And
That was me.
I have a quote to share and I want to read it because I want to make sure I get it. A great deal in the wrong market can become a headache, while an average deal in the right market can bring long-term success. So take that in because that is so true. And I have lived that in so many different markets. We've probably invested in 7 markets to date. And you could take this beautiful property in the wrong market and it just will give you average results.
You know what I did? So I kind of like reverse, right? And what my goal was, like, I heard about this thing about house hacking, but I wanted to do it in a multifamily. So I was looking for a multifamily, and I would be living in one unit and then renting out the other ones, right? Totally like, let's do that. And then I couldn't find any property that would meet all those criterias and my goals and my financials, because I did not analyze the market. The market that where I was looking at did not have those properties in there. The neighborhood that I wanted did not have them. So you're trying to fit a piece of the puzzle where you're like, you can't fit. You can't fit. So you should not be going to open houses and evaluating deals if you don't know the market as the palm of your hand. And here's what I mean by it. If I say a corner intersection of this intersection over here, can you visualize in your head how it looks like? That microscope I want. Do you know the invisible boundaries of that neighborhood? Where are the boundaries of the zip code? What's happening there? Did you walk that area? Walk. I didn't say drive. I said walk. Because you really need to immerse yourself and study the market 100% from a macro level. Okay. What's going on in terms of demographics, employment, transportation, who is your avatar, all of that, to a very specific what's going on over here in those blocks. Fully understanding the market's going to give you an edge over other people that are evaluating the properties over the market.
Absolutely. And I want to give a quick example too on this one. So as some of you may know, if you've been with us a long time, we got our start in Trenton and we didn't do a lot of market analysis, me and my husband. We wanted to make a difference. We were like, oh, that's close. And there's plenty of properties to renovate. So those were our check. And that was a good 15 years ago. And we have sold everything in that market for a variety of reasons. We're just not into the business of having single family duplexes in Trenton right now. Now, the interesting part is while we've sold every building we've had, we just sold our last one. We are working on a new construction project. So then you'd say, you're selling everything. You're there, exactly right in Trenton. You say you're sold everything, but you're actually continuing to invest in that market. Why? Because there's market trends showing that market rate housing is actually doing quite well in Trenton, and especially in the area that we're doing this project. It's gonna be like a 35 unit project. There's a building right next door. There's just a lot of research we've done because we've been there for 15 years. So my point in sharing that story is that the market doesn't necessarily, the market evolves. You need to keep your eye on the trends. You need to have a pulse on what's happening, and your strategy might need to evolve. We're not buying any single family or duplexes. If you presented me with 10, I'd say no. Doesn't even matter what they are, how cheap they are. I would never buy there in that way. But we're actually getting presented now with some other new construction projects because the numbers we're seeing and the support on the financing side is enormous right now. It might make sense to do more. So just as an example, that markets kind of evolve and your strategy you might need to shift depending on what happens. All right, let's get to number 5. 5 is all about the deal analysis, really mastering deal analysis. I don't know about you, Andressa. It's probably one of the biggest complaints and challenges women have when they're starting. I don't want to miss a line item, because it could, in real estate, it could go from profit of 20,000 to losing 20,000, right? And that makes a difference. So you really need to get a sense of how do I begin analyzing property from an investment perspective. I'm going to give you the secret. No, I don't have a secret. It takes practice. That's number one, is that you really need to, I want to go back to the other tip we gave you, is really starting to understand terminology. You need to understand what cash flow means. And I know it seems like, well, cash flow is just money coming in. Well, do you have your whole head around that? ROI, cap rate. You need to understand the basic terms, especially when it comes to deal analysis. I'd also say, don't get ahead of yourself. Start analyzing. There's templates out there. There's other resources out there. There's calculators out there. There's a tremendous amount of resources. You just need to start saying, okay, let's go with the buy and hold. I'm getting a buy and hold property, single family buy and hold. I want to put a long-term tenant in there. That's my strategy. That's the asset class. All right, now I'm going to start to run numbers. There's income and expenses. Very simple. What's coming in, what's leaving. And that's what you need to get your head around between the calculators.
Well, Liz, I have no clue. What to do and what to input in. What would you recommend? What do I do?
You call 911. No, you don't. No, you need to. Well, there's a few different things, right? Depending on the market. Now, if I'm looking at deals, I'm answering that. If you're looking at deals in 4 different markets, that answer is different, Andressa. So it's very market dependent and it's property dependent. So the best thing you could do, number one, is start to understand your local market, start to understand your actual property. What is the going rate for taxes in this area? Taxes is one of your biggest expenses. Not a big surprise. It is for your personal. It's going to be for investment. That's where your agent comes in. That's where literally it shows you right on the listing what the taxes are. Insurance, right, Andressa? So there's basic things that we have, water, sewer. We're talking basic stuff that you already pay on your primary. You also want to be mindful of, we can go down the whole list, but these are the pieces that you start to say, okay, what's missing? So you start to analyze it literally in your own Excel or your own way of doing it. Then you want to say to a real estate agent, that investor-friendly, investment property-friendly agent, what am I missing? Oh, well, based on this community, there's this other fee that you have to pay. Okay, great. So you start building and adding by not relying on yourself. You're going to miss something. So you want to rely on that agent. You want to rely on maybe a property management company in the area. You want to rely on a lender and investors in that area.
I want to share a hack, okay? I don't want you guys to wait until an active deal comes in for you to practice that, okay? Get some property that sold and paint the picture of that exactly property. Something that I do with lenders, as I am building relationship with lenders, I say, I need to do a mock with you so we can play as if this was a deal. Why would you do it? And why wouldn't you finance it? And the other thing that I would say is, if you don't feel confident about the numbers, I'm not sure about it, join our local chapters. And the women there say, hey, let's sit down and evaluate what it is. The expectation that you are missing something. You will be training your eyes as you grow. Okay. One thing that I don't want you to do, the profit line in your spreadsheet is not going to be the last thing. You need to move that all the way up. It's not an afterthought. So you need to determine what you would like to make it and add the number over there versus whatever is left will be my profit. Okay. So move the line item all the way up. That's something that I wish I have done before. So I was not actually super surprised about my profit at the end.
And property management is always an important expense line. Whether you're going to manage it yourself or not, it's really, really helpful to put in the front end. And then you can determine, what your going rate is, conservatively 8-10%, but depends on your area, depends on the size of property. So let's go, and we're going to give you more resources, because analyzing deals is not something like one and done. It's like going to the gym. You have to practice it. And to Andressa's point, the more you can practice it before a deal comes up, now you know your numbers. Now you know what's appropriate, what's not. I'd also recommend, in addition to InvestHER chapters, put in our Facebook group. Hey, analyze this deal. What am I missing? Use this community for your own benefit. So I want to go through the 5 again. Move through the fear of making this big commitment by getting clear goals and clear vision of where you want to be in 5 years. Number 2, the challenge of navigating that acquisition process, really begin to learn the common language and get that investor-friendly agent on your side so they can help you through the process. Number 3, getting overwhelmed with choosing the right investment strategy. Don't get overwhelmed. 2 areas: look at asset class, look at strategy, and start to see what's going to help move you towards your goals. Number 4, market always comes over a deal. So identifying that right market, just remember, become obsessed with the market, not the deal. And then 5, right? Mastering that art of deal analysis. Start practicing with what you know on past deals. Start building the muscle. You're going to miss things. Start getting connected to the InvestHER chapters and then the Facebook community. And then the women are going to help you with your blind spots.
This episode is packed. Okay. So the expectation here is not for you to execute all of that in a week. Please have grace with you and be proud of the next steps that you are taking. The worst thing that you can do is invest time listening to us and do nothing. So pick one thing and focus on executing that one thing. And after that, you pick another thing. Okay. And that's how you're going to be creating momentum. And let us know if you need further support. Please go to our Facebook group community, tag us there, and we are here to support you. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you.